Hello friends, I have already shown you how to insert data in the Python list using Django, and this is what I have already shown. So let me just run the code once again. Suppose name is John, the first name, last name is Carter, and they suppose 21. I hit the save button. We have already done this, right? And let me add one more data over here. Let's go with my name and my last name, and my age is 79. So this is what we have already seen. But how about the edit part? Well, before I go and show you the source code, let me tell you something. If I bring the mouse pointer over here, look at the bottom left corner, you will find that a URL is coming up where it is showing that localhost colon 8000 slash edit slash 1 because ID is 1. Similarly, it is showing localhost colon 8000. Please look over here at this corner, localhost colon 8000 followed by slash edit and ID number 2. So that means these icons, well, I have taken these icons from Font Awesome. These icons are associated with the data. That's the reason 1, 2, these IDs are getting flashed, isn't it? And this is a very important part because this ID will actually be responsible for identifying which particular row that you wish to edit. So how this particular whole thing is working, and that is what we will see in this video presentation. So let me bring you to the Visual Studio Code. Here it is. At first we will go and check out the URL because this is something very interesting is going to take place over here. Since as you see that this is the string which you saw edit, okay, and this is the query params. Yes, it's called query parameter or query params, which will have a dynamic data. You need to be very careful about this thing, the way this is represented, angular bracket, then we have mentioned data type, and then we are making the field name, or you can say this is a variable or a placeholder which would actually hold the data that would come based on the user selection. So this is basically called as dynamic routing or reverse URL. Okay, query parameter is there and the reverse URL is because of this particular name attribute. Don't worry, I will talk about reverse parameter as well. So overall this is a dynamic URL because over here you have a static string, that is fine, but the value of this query params will keep on changing, and because of that there will be a huge impact, and that's what we are going to cover in this video. So after this, and then we come to the edit view. So that brings us to my view.py, and here it comes, and this is the function which I have written, and like the home function which was accepting the request parameter, here also same thing, it would be accepting request parameter because data would come from the front end. So for that reason it has to hold inside the request parameter. But hey man, what is this ID, item ID? Well, the item that the user will click, the row that the user is going to click, based on that row there would be a data, right? And that data I need a place to hold, and that would be initially stored over here. So from here it would be conveyed to this particular view, and the variable who will receive it is the name called item ID. So that name will come right over here. And before I explain this entire piece of code, which is very relevant, you need to understand this. First we will need to see that how this particular page is getting generated, this entire page where these rows are getting framed. That's what we need to see, right? And for that reason we have to go to the index.html where the initial rendering is taking place. In my last video you have already seen that how I have gone for parsing, but now in this particular video you will be seeing that there are two more columns out there which is responsible for, one for edit and other one for delete. Now look at this particular URL template string. This is very interesting, and this is where the navigation is taking place. And here I've written something called the URL. This is the template tag. So whenever you're writing URL as a template tag, it means that the dynamic routing is going to take place. Remember, this is a static string which was there in my URL over here called edit, that is the static string. But after that, this particular field is a field that is coming right over here, which would be representing my ID. So this ID, this data, this is the data which will be actually getting stored inside this URL.py, inside this particular field called item ID. So based on the one which I'm going to click, that particular ID would come, right? Because for each row this particular column is going to repeat. So for the first item, the next column will repeat with the specific ID that will come over here. Secondly, again for the second time it will rotate. So unless and until all the rows are not been exhausted, this process will continue, and in each iteration it will pick up one data at a time and it will store right over here, and that's the ID which it would be generating. As a reason, when you saw I showed you already that when I put my cursor over here, I will be able to see the ID over here at the bottom. As you can see over here, the ID will come. See, as I simply put on my cursor, you can see the ID is 1 and here the ID is 2. That means that because of the iteration, because of this iteration, this ID is getting generated. Okay, and I have gone for font awesome, and this is a font awesome style. And inside my, if I scroll up over here, I have gone for the font awesome CDN link, and that will be enough to generate, to display you this particular image as a font forming from font awesome. The similar kind of thing I have done the delete over here also, but the delete I will talk in my next video. I'm focusing primarily on the edit option right now. So from this particular segment of the Django template tag, you understood that this is called reverse URL. Why it is called reverse URL? Because this edit which I've written over here is actually coming from this name called edit. Well, I have intentionally maintained the initial route and the name of the route as same, so that there is no such confusion. But actually in reality when you are writing this URL and then you are writing the name, that actually represents the name that is written over here. This is basically called reverse URL, because this reverse URL will redirect to this particular option, and from there we will generate, or we will be getting a dynamic URL based on the row that the user has tapped. Okay, so on clicking this particular field, so initially you saw initially as you can see right over here, the rows have been generated, everything is working fine. So this much portion is very clear to you guys, I believe. Now what happens when the user will click on this hyperlink, because anchor tag is there. The moment the user clicks on this hyperlink, so naturally the view controller or the view method will get fired, that is called edit_view, and the control will jump right over here. And over here I have request parameter, and you will soon understand why the request parameter is being utilized. But for the initial state, the request parameter will be of no use, but definitely the IDs will be useful. The ID that the user has given or the user has clicked, this particular ID is also redirected right over here. Okay, and now let me expand this particular thing. So I have created one variable called item, which is initially none. It doesn't hold any data over here. Now what I'm going to do is that I need that, see, I have clicked only on the ID. I have just clicked on the ID field only, but I need this entire row. I need entire row, the first name, the last name, and the age I need, because user can modify any of the data, right? So for this reason, I need to identify this entire row out of my list view, or my list. Sorry, not list view. List view is referred in Android. I'm talking about lists, and for that reason, this list I need. So for that reason, what I'm doing is that I'm running a for loop over here. And that for loop will cover all the item in the arrow list until the ID which I have mentioned over here doesn't match. And the moment it does match, then that particular object will be stored inside this variable called item. So this item initially was having null because I wanted to create a reference where the respective object will be stored, the one on which I have clicked. So inside this particular item, the data is there. So still I'm doing a checking over here. If it is not there, well, of course it will be there, because definitely user has clicked that data. Based on this particular data, what you are seeing, the user will be clicking any one of them, so naturally it would be there. Okay, but still, as a good practice, I'm doing this particular verification. If it is not there, then we'll go for HTTP responder and we'll turn back. Okay, but what if it's there? Yeah, it's there. Now user didn't click any of the button over here, so that means this if condition is not going to work. The data will come right in the dictionary. I have created one dictionary over here by the name called context, and this particular context will hold the item that the user has or it has been retrieved based on the row which the user has clicked inside this particular key value pair. And this context I'm going to forward to another new template called edit_item. So this is a new template which I have created. It's not the home template, the previous template, index template. It is a new template that I've created. But here the data would be almost the very same, but still it is important to create the new template. And it is present inside the home directory, as you can see right over here. And be very careful about the path in which you are working. So inside the template folder, I have got a home folder. Inside that, now I've got a new HTML page called edit_item. So here this particular page will be redirected. And what is there? What is the relevant of this? Let me show you that. Remember, it is also sending you the context that holds the item that the user has clicked. So once the page comes over here, now look over here again. This is a form, because user will fill the data and will go for submission. So naturally CSRF token has to be there. So for that reason, this is CSRF token will play very important, because you are submitting data to the Django. So for that reason, this particular token is very important. And when the user will be clicking on submit button, then this particular method will get fired. That is the post. So over here, if you notice one thing, what I have done is that I have introduced a new attribute called value, and whatever existing value that particular field hold, that will be getting stored on that particular text box. Let me show you the output, then it will be easy for you to follow. So let's go for one more insertion, then I will be able to make you understand more clearly. So John Carter. Oh, John Carter I've already given, so let me come up with someone new. Suppose Suzanne Ray. Okay, Suzanne Ray, and she is just mere 23 years old. And let me click on the save button. Yes, Suzanne also gets saved. So now imagine I'm going to click on this particular row. So naturally what happened is that so long I was working on localhost colon 8000, but now the route would get changed, because the URL, as you can see over here in the URL, it's been mentioned that there has to be edit followed by the ID, right? And thereafter this particular template will get open. So naturally there will be change in the route. So let's see now, as I click on this particular row, the edit tag gets added over here, the text get added, and the specific particular ID which I have mentioned, that is now over here. That is the record number 2, and see all the text box has been filled with existing value, and for that reason I have given this value property over here where I have mentioned the data right over here, because I don't want to keep this field empty, because you have to resubmit the data. So naturally either you will be editing all the fields, or you will be editing a particular field, or maybe you're editing certain field. So rest of the other field will hold the data preoccupied. So naturally when you will be clicking the submit button, the existing data which was there from the very before, and the new data, the change which I have made, all this thing put together will be submitted. So for that reason I have given this value property. Initially if you see the index.html, at that point of time value property was not there, because you were submitting the data for the first time. So naturally there's nothing called value over here, but in this case the value would be there because it already there. So those data is coming and getting stored in the respective DOM element, as you can see right over here. So now if I bring a change over here, suppose I want to introduce my last name as Kumar rather than Shaha, and so I'm going to submit the button, or I'm going to click the button. So the moment I will do that, then naturally the form will be loaded, right? So this form is going to be submitted, and this form submission means it will be back to the same view controller page, because the route is very same. The route which you are seeing, this particular route, means it will redirect to the url.py where you have got edit, and at the same time you have got the ID. So naturally this particular function will be getting called, and this time since the user has clicked the button, so definitely the if condition will become true. So this if condition becoming true means the respective data which is there in the DOM element, either it was there from the very beginning, or the field which I have, new field that I have added, altogether this whole thing will be stored in the respective variable called fname, lname, and last name. And now what I will be doing is that I will be creating a tuple like what I did in the first function as well. At the time of insertion I will create the new tuple, and this is the variable that holds the tuple, and that variable I'm going to add on the respective index. Remember this one, the very index on which I have clicked, actually that particular row present inside the entire list. This is my list, and this is the respective index there where the new data will be appended, and that will give us a new record. The existing record will be omitted and the new data will come over there, and thereafter I will be firing the context again. So this context will hold the modified data, at the same time the existing data which was not been selected, all this thing together will be passed to this particular item, right? And then what I'm going to do, and then I'm redirecting. See over here, this time the render is not getting called, rather I'm redirecting. So this is the new function that is getting introduced, and where the reverse URL coming in picture. But this time in this URL I'm not passing any parameter, but just as the name redirect, and the name of the URL is called home. So let me bring you over here. So right now over here I'm talking about, and that will open the view.home, and there where I will be seeing the data back, and I will be back to the home page. So let me show you that, and you will be understand. So the moment I will click over here, this route was having edit/2. So the moment I will do that, and the Shaha was replaced by Kumar, as I click on this, I'm back to the root route, and that is actually done by the, so that was actually the function of the redirect. So redirect means you're redirecting back to the home page, and here you mention the route parameter, so the data will come right over here. And that's how you see the output over here. As you can see, the Shah got replaced by Kumar. So with that, this particular video comes to an end. But one more thing I need to tell you, which is very interesting, and that is the challenge of this part of the video. That is, if I get back to my home, the home which I have shown you before, which right now I have kept it as a collapse, that home, will it be able to, I repeat, that home, will it be able to show you this table? You must be wondering what I am saying. Well, you do the code, you just follow the code according to my video, and then see when you will redirect over here, I don't know whether this particular table will appear or not. Okay, in case if it does, then there is no problem. Otherwise think about it. And that's the big thing of this particular video, along with the edit what I have done it. So in this particular video you understood that how the reverse URL is working, along with that how we can pass the dynamic data in the URL, and finally with the help of query string or query parameter I can accept the data, and from that particular unique ID you can collect the entire row from the list view. I'm sorry, not again list view, it's a list. And then finally you can render the data in the actual page like what you are seeing over here where the new data has been shown. Okay, so just give a try on this, and if in case if you're not able to do so, drop a message on the comment section. Let me see what can be done in that regard. Okay, bye bye, take care, good night.